Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena here. You're watching our latest video in our PhoneArena Portal series, and today I'm taking you into the Motorola event, which was held today in 3 different locations. The one I went to was in New York City.
But there's one more area where Moto X stands out against all the other competition, and this is the design.
They had one in London, UK.
Only 39% of people said they're actually happy with their mobile device.
And the main show, I believe, was the Sao Paulo, Brazil event.
And thanks to all of you here in the room for coming to join us.
But anyway, Motorola announced its brand new lineup for the fall, and ultimately I just came away impressed by what they delivered. So let's talk about the phones. There are 3 devices in play, one of them being technically 2 different names. Okay, so we had the Moto X Style, which is the true successor to the Moto X series. It's a bigger phone, better spec, newer design. It's the latest version of the Moto X lineup. Alternatively, there's the Moto X Pure Edition. Now, it's essentially the same as the Moto X Style, so same design, same build, same customizable aspect, and also same specs, but it's going to be sold here only in the US as an unlocked model. It's going to be sold via retail channels like Best Buy, Amazon, and through Motorola's Moto Maker site. And then you have the Moto X Play, which is not coming to the US. It's only going to be sold in Europe, and that's being billed as a no-compromise mid-ranger. And finally, you have the Moto G, the 3rd generation one, and it continues to trend of being an aggressively priced entry-level handset at only $180. So anyway, let's talk about the Moto X Style, because that's the big phone we want to talk about, or the Moto X Pure Edition, essentially the same handset. So when I looked at it, there are some key things that really stood out in my first impression. So stylish design, as its name implies, it's a gorgeous looking phone. It is, it is a bigger phone because of the bigger display, and some people might not like that. It's almost as big as the Nexus 6, and it makes last year's Moto X look tiny. But it continues the trend of being customizable via Moto Maker, which is great. So you could change up the color accents of the metal trim bezel, the metal piece in the back, the back covering, and it's just nice that you have complete control, varying prices of course, and has a killer spec sheet. You have a Quad HD display, you have a Snapdragon 808, 21 megapixel camera, you have even an LED flash on the front-facing camera, which is kind of shocking, and it's all aggressively priced at $400, which is just mind-blowing because recently we just heard news about the OnePlus 2, and I just reviewed the ZTE Axon phone. Those 2 phones are already, behind the times, just considering the fact that the Moto X Style is super spec and has one killer price point. Now, some of the concerns we have, though, or I have, is the camera, because as I've checked out the Moto X last year, it wasn't that big with the camera. So that's going to be interesting to see how it fares there. There's no manual mode. So yeah, there's no manual mode. I checked out the camera app. It's exactly like the Moto X, the style in the Moto X series. Pretty simplified. You have HDR, panoramic, but there is no option for a manual mode. So I don't know how they're going to pull it off. They are talking big about its low lighting performance. But for me, if you are able to adjust the parameters, the ISO, the shutter speed, you could take some really good looking photos under low light. But seeing they don't have control of that, who knows? Second thing is just battery life. They did say that bigger battery in there, 3000 milliamp hour battery, but to me, we'll just have to wait and find out whether or not it delivers the goods. We know that the Droid Turbo is impressive, but who knows? Who knows? Hopefully this one will achieve a great battery life as well. They do have fast charging, which is wonderful, and Motorola talked big about how it's the world's fastest charging smartphone. But in my testing, I know the Galaxy S6 is definitely one of the fastest out there. There might be some that are close, but that's, I guess, the benchmark for me. Hopefully they'll be able to beat that. But unfortunately, there's no wireless charging. That would have been nice to have. And finally, it doesn't have quite all the rich amenities you find on some other flagship device. So you don't have things like an IR blaster. You're not going to have a fingerprint sensor. It does have NFC, which is great at the very least, but it doesn't really have the amenities that you'd find on a really high-end spec smartphone. But then again, the price point of it makes all the justification. So it was pretty cool because the phone itself is already generating a lot of buzz. and I'm kind of stoked about checking it out when it comes out in September. Of course, the $400 price point makes it very attractive for many consumers. But again, just some of those concerns about the camera, the battery life, we'll find out. Hopefully it's gonna be a home run for them.